welcome to Healing Honeys, the podcast for girls with big dreams trying to balance it all. I'm Louise Rumble, serial entrepreneur, type A overachiever, healing girly, and holistic wellness coach who also once got called the Jesus of modern dating. But let's get one thing straight. My healing era has never been calm. I'm talking savage dating stories, 20 cigarettes a day, daddy issues, an anxious attachment style, and an autoimmune disorder too. Today, I've spent thousands of dollars on healing and therapy, and now I'm here to guide you, love you, and laugh with you as I share my favorite tips, tricks, and rituals that have saved me along the way. With new episodes every Wednesday, expect girl talk, psychology, and the nervous system, as well as love, sex, and dating, wellness, fitness, and a little bit of business and spirituality too. So get in, honey. We are balancing healing, hustling, and life, and the best is yet to come. And if you're looking for ad-free listening or my somatic healing subscription daily devotion, just head over to the show notes. Now, let's get into it. My angels, my honeys, welcome back to another episode of Healing Honeys. So happy you are here, tuning in for yourself, showing up for yourself, getting to spend this quality time with me. I love doing this with all of you. Today is a Healing Honeys hotline. Ding, ding, ding. It's a holiday special. This is a themed episode for us to get into some user submissions about the holiday period. And I know that these submissions today, they are not on their own in feeling the way that they do about going home for Christmas, about being back with family, about maybe feeling like they are changing and evolving, but their friendship groups or their family groups maybe aren't doing that. And we're going to get into that today. We've got 2 hotline submissions, but I do just want to acknowledge that whatever is going on for you this Christmas, it's okay. Like some seasons, there are times that are great and full of love and light and growth. And there are some that are painful and dark. And the sad thing is that sometimes these things can fall on the holiday period. And I know that my last breakup a couple of years ago, it happened on the 19th of December. So I was fucking heartbroken as hell during Christmas. And I know that grief and loss and sadness, it doesn't just disappear because it's the holiday season. And I know that life is expensive today. As of the time of recording this episode, just a couple of weeks out from Christmas, I don't know if I'm going to be going home back to the United Kingdom, back to England to be with my family, or whether I'm going to be staying in Mexico. And that will be my first Christmas I think that I've ever spent not with my family. And I'm okay not spending it with them, I think. But my boyfriend works in hospitality, so he will be working on Christmas Day. And there's a chance that I really will be on my own. And you guys know that I don't have a lot of friends here in Tulum this season because everyone has left. So yeah, it's kind of confronting. It's kind of scary. It's kind of lonely. It's kind of sad. And I just wanted to let you know that that's what I'm going through, because I'm sure that you can look at my social media and think that my life is perfect. My life is great. What do I have to worry about? But we are all dealing with things behind closed doors. And if you are feeling alone, sad, heartbroken, going through something this holiday season, I am here holding space with you. And today we're going to get into 2 very specific situations that are so wildly relatable. The first voice note is going home at Christmas and having outgrown your friends or feeling like things just aren't the same as they used to be. The second one is how to stop being so fucking triggered by your parents, by your family home, and how to stop trying to be that therapist figure in your parents' marriage. And that question is so specific that I literally felt like maybe I had submitted it to my own hotline, but I hadn't. I haven't gone that far, I promise you. So if you are ready, we're going to get into these questions. I hope that today's episode is going to give you lots of insight, some ideas about how this holiday season can work for you rather than against you. And most of all, I am here with you. So let's get into the first submission. Now I'm going to have to listen to it on my iPad, so I'm literally going to look like a 50-year-old, but let's go.
Hi, Louise. My name is Sam, and I'm from Oregon in the United States. And my question is dealing with friendships that you feel like you've kind of outgrown. In the past few years, I have gotten sober and gone on this health journey, and I've lost almost 100 pounds. And I don't necessarily fit in with any of my friends in my hometown anymore. Every time I go back to see them, they're still doing the same thing. They're still doing a ton of cocaine, sitting in the same bars, drinking their lives away, not going outside. And it's really hard because I feel like when I go to see them, I want to go outside and do really fun things, especially during the holiday season. There's so many things that you can do outside: snowboarding, skiing, ice skating, and everyone's kind of just in a bar instead of doing the things that make the holiday season so exciting. So, I guess my question is how to really address these types of things when you go back to your hometown and you feel like you've outgrown everyone and you feel a little bit more lonely during the holiday season because you don't really have anyone to share those fun, exciting things with. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much for submitting this question. And first of all, let's just take a moment for the fact that you have gone on this incredible journey. Losing 100 pounds is unbelievable. That is truly so incredible. And it sounds like you are making such amazing, amazing shifts in your life. I am so freaking proud of you. I'm sure you are proud of yourself as well, but I really, really hope that you are. And I think you just bring up such a valid point that it's inherently lonely doing the work. It's inherently lonely changing and evolving and growing when other people around you are not changing and evolving and growing too. And I think that this is a really interesting concept because when we do start to do the work, I think we find friends, probably in more like online spaces and sometimes offline spaces as well, that are on the same journey as us. So I know that with Daily Devotion, we have this community room with hundreds of women in it. So they know that at any moment they can type in that room and there are other people who can come online who can answer their question. It's really, really amazing to see how these people interact together. But I think that in the same way, you don't necessarily have those evolving support groups offline in the way that you do online. Or maybe you don't have either. And of course, if you don't have either, then that's going to feel quite a lonely place to be in. Now, I'm sure you don't regret the changes that you are going through at all. But I think that that potential wound around maybe being more like the black sheep, maybe more like being on the outside, maybe being different. And I say these like they're bad things. They are not, they are incredible things. But it's very difficult to go against the grain of society. It's very difficult to stand up from a pack of people and say, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. Hey, this behavior doesn't serve me anymore. Because when it serves someone else, that can be very triggering for them. And this is a journey that I have lived. I love that you are sober. That is so amazing. And as someone who is 6 years sober myself, there have been a million and one moments when the holiday season in England meant sitting inside a bar, sitting inside a pub, standing outside in the freezing cold, which, by the way, like if you are not drunk, that's fucking cold. Like it's not enjoyable. And the only reason that I used to enjoy it was because I used to like stand outside and smoke. So when I stopped smoking and I stopped drinking and it's loud in there and it's overstimulating, those situations didn't serve me in the ways that they used to, right? And it sounds like you were going through something similar. And what I really want to talk about here is this concept of bids for connection. So when we try to connect with another human being, it's called a bid for connection. And often that can happen through shared activities, which is why you will find that a lot of people, they are party friends, they are the go to the bar friends, or even like the run club friends. You know, it doesn't always have to be a negative. People connect over shared passions and shared interests. Now, I am not saying that there is anything wrong with people sitting in bars if that is what they want to do over the holiday period. You know, for some people, they might be so stressed in their day to day life that when they come home, they just want to like let everything go, et cetera, et cetera. And I try to hold space for everyone doing whatever makes them happy, even if it doesn't make me happy, even if I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you guys? Like, why do you want to sit in a bar the whole day and like all night and take cocaine? Like, that is obviously in my life and my perspective, like not a very healthy or very purposeful or very expansive way of living. But a big part of my journey has been acknowledging that that's their journey. And I can never change anyone else's journey. They have to do that. They have to be the ones to do that. But let's take it back to this bid for connection, because yes, you can have compassion for the fact that this is just how they are. This is how they function. This is all they know. Remember, our nervous systems are wired to stay close to the things that we know, the things that feel comfortable for us, the things that feel safe for us. And maybe you experienced that on your weight loss journey. You know, I'm sure there were moments when you were like, God, I just want to do X, Y, or Z. Like, I want to go back to that version of me that got the takeout or like didn't go to the gym. And so I think, again, we can hold compassion and grace for those individuals whilst also acknowledging that you are evolving. You have tapped into a new side of you, a side of you that is growing and glowing, and a side of you that makes you feel better, and a side of you that you like more. And that is remarkable. That is truly astoundable. I don't think astoundable is a word. And again, let's just take a moment for how far you have come. But this concept of bid for connection, right? When you say to someone, I want to spend time with you, that's a bid for connection. They are finding connection in those bars, in those clubs. They are connecting through cocaine, through the alcohol. But what it sounds like is you are evolving. You want to connect through doing different things. You want to connect through going snowboarding. You want to connect through going skiing. You want to experience nature. You want to experience the ice rink or the Christmas lights or whatever that is. So the first thing that I would say is you have an option here. You can try for a bid for connection with this old group of friends. Now, what I would ask you is, are there anyone particular or is there anyone particular in that group of friends that you think might be more receptive to your journey, who might be less triggered by you saying, hey, this doesn't work for me? Would you be interested in doing something else with me? Because that is where I would start here. I would look at the group as a whole and I would see who I was closest to. I would see who I can be honest and open and vulnerable with. And I would see who might be open to having this conversation. And what I would do is test the water before you go home. So you could say, hey, I'm sober now. I'm just planning ahead for the holiday season. I was wondering if you'd be interested in going snowboarding. I'm interested in if you want to go ice skating, whatever it might be. And I think you can test that and test the waters and see how these individuals respond, maybe individually rather than as a group. So I would start individually before going for like trying to organize a big group thing. You might find that someone will be like, yes, I love you. I miss you. I want to spend time with you. I totally get that you're sober now. Let's go snowboarding. Okay. And then I would say, like, you should just push on the leading and the organizing on that, because we know that the holiday season gets busy. We know that it's very easy for some people just to end up in the bars and in the clubs. So that would be my first port of call, because you connected with these individuals once, and maybe there are some friendships in there that you want to save. And I know from past experiences that I'm not really friends with anyone that I went to school with anymore. And that is one of my biggest pain points in life. Okay, maybe that's dramatic. Not like my biggest pain points in life, but I do wish that I had friends when I went back to my hometown in the holidays that I could see or that I could hang out with, because I don't have them. And that doesn't like really upset me that much. I am very busy and I like to spend time with my family when I come home. And I do have one friend who I'm going to tell you about in today's episode, because I think it ties really nicely into what I want to talk about later. But I would just question and query, is there a bid for connection there before you say goodbye to this friendship group? So that is where I would start. And if yes, that's great. But also, you might need to acknowledge that you might not want to hang out with them in a group of 10, 20 anymore. It might be that you hang out with them individually. Or it might be that you say to that one, is there anyone else that you think might want to join us? And you could create a small little thing. And I think that is like a really interesting place to start this. And I think it's also that concept of meeting in the middle. You don't really want to go out, but maybe you could try going out with them once on one night. You can just say, I don't drink anymore. I'm just going to swing by for an hour. maybe you can get that connection with them, have some fun, have some memories in the pub, in the bar, in the club, even though it feels like you don't want to do it. Because I know that I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go there. Like, that's gross, etc., etc. But sometimes I actually do it and like I push through and I have a really good time. I'm like pleasantly surprised by it. So sometimes we hold these preconceptions that make us not want to do things. But actually, if we do them, we can kind of have like quite a nice time. So that is kind of what I would say is like, reach out to people, explain where your head's at. If they are your real friends, they will be able to hold space for that. You don't need to say anything about judging people that drink or judging people that take drugs. You can just say, like, I'm evolving. You can see I'm on this journey. I'm so proud of myself and I want to keep it up over the holiday period. So this is where I'm at. What do you think? That is where I would start. But I also think it's really important to honor your boundaries here because there might be some level of pushback. There might be people saying it's so weird that you don't come out anymore. You're not fun anymore. You know, why are you being a loser, XYZ? And this is where it becomes really important to honor your own voice and to honor your own boundaries, which is that you do not take drugs anymore. You do not drink anymore. You feel better this way. You like yourself more this way. And sometimes when people say to me, like, why are you sober? That's so weird. That is all I say. I say, I am a much better, happier, healthier version of me this way. So it really works for me. Thank you. People are like, whoa, like that is crazy. Sometimes actually speaking your truth can either trigger people or it can really help people see that you mean what you are saying. So that is the first option. You kind of find some level of connection with specific individuals or in small doses of connection, setting boundaries, honoring your boundaries, and going from there. The second option is the slightly sadder one. This is where that doesn't work out. People don't respond to those bids for connections. They're triggered by your positions or your journey. And you realize this isn't my problem that they are triggered, but I'm going to have to deal with the repercussions, which is that this season I might feel a little lonelier. Now, if that is the case, I want you to look at this as just a season. You are not going home forever. It's not going to be the holiday season forever. And I want you to, first of all, open up your mind to micro moments, okay? Now, I mentioned this story about how last Christmas I went to the pub and I actually had a really good time. Now, my brother is friends with a girl who lives back home. She lives just down the road from my parents' house. We've always known each other, like, because she's been great friends with my brother, but we never hung out. And, you know, actually, I think at one point my brother was like, I don't really know if you guys would get on, which was a kind of weird thing to say because I like get on with everyone. So I don't know, that was a bit weird for me. Anyway, our mums over the past few years have literally become best friends. It is so adorable. So we had this like holiday little party at the pub, and that part of me that was like always feeling like the outsider kind of was like, I don't want to go. I don't like the pub. I don't want to drink, all of these things. But I went. And this girl was there. And that was actually the start of a friendship between us. And now she's like one of my great friends. And it's so nice because she is a friend that is back home. She is a friend that I haven't known my whole life, but it feels like I have. And we always sort of stay in touch, and our mums are really close. And we go out for dinner, like the mums and the daughters, whenever I'm back in the UK. Now, this is what I mean by micro moments. I feel like you can meet new friends at any point of your life, even over the holiday season. I know you're going to be like, no, I can't, but you can. So whether it's in the pub or the club or with your friends, or whether it's that you're like, hey, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to join a run club. Like, note to self, you will never see me joining a run club ever in the history of the world, let alone in the holiday season. But whatever it is that you want to do, you know, a Pilates class, I think it's really important that we keep up our own activities during the holiday season, because from my experience before I was who I am today, I would just like lose the plot over Christmas. I would drink, take drugs, smoke. I would go home. I would just literally lie on the sofa for like 9 days straight, eating. And don't get me wrong, like that was fun. I loved it. And also I felt like I deserved like a timeout. I always was like, this year has been so intense. Like I deserve this rest. But actually then I always felt like really shit when January came around. And it was always like, oh, I have to like start again, like clawing myself back to a place that I feel happy in myself. So now I understand that like putting a bit of structure and routine into the holiday period is really not a bad thing either. So in these micro moments, you could meet new people. I have never personally tried Bumble BFF. I've heard some amazing stories. I've also heard some horror stories. I don't know how it would work for you, but you could just check into that app and see if there is anyone on there that you want to become friends with. Maybe they feel the same about going home. I see some people on TikTok who literally have found like new best friends from apps and like the friendship function. So I also think that that is an option. Now, if that isn't an option, I want you to reframe loneliness. I want you to actually reframe this holiday period as a time of rest and rejuvenation for you, a time for you to prime and prep for next year. It sounds like you're already doing the work, but what about next year? What is on the agenda for next year? Where is it that you want to go? Maybe you could use this time to build a vision board. Maybe you could use this time to research some goals or some travel plans or something that you want to do next year. Maybe you could plan out your January 2025. Maybe you could plan out your Q1. Maybe you could just kind of like get everything in place. Maybe you could clear out your childhood home. Maybe you could do something for charity. Maybe you could go and help out at a soup kitchen. The opposite of loneliness is connection. And if you can't get that through your traditional connections or your online connections, then is there another way that you can give back? I do a lot of animal charity work here in Tulum and also with a homeless charity in the UK. And I will tell you, I never feel better than when I am doing that. I feel filled up, like I am helping, like I am giving back. And I've always said, like, I would love to go and help out in a soup kitchen at some point. And I also really want to go into a jail. That's like another thing. If you work in a jail, well, maybe not in Mexico because I don't speak Spanish, but in England, hit me up. Like I would love to, go and give back to the community in that way. So I would ask yourself if there's anything that you could do and plan for next year or ways that you can give back to the community. And it's about keeping that routine in. Like I said, can you go to the gym? Can you go to Pilates? Can you work out at home? Can you get your 10K steps in? Can you start a new podcast? Can you start a new video series at home on the sofa? Like the holiday period can be a time to rest and rejuvenate. It can also be a time to do, but it's really about asking yourself, like, how can you balance those things? I don't know your family structure, but maybe you could go snowboarding or, ice skating or any of those things with your family, with your siblings. I don't know what your family setup is, but I know that for me, having my sister-in-law at home feels like I'm hanging out with friends, and it's brought me closer to my brother. And now obviously we have a little baby niece around as well. So for me, the holiday period has become more about family than friends. And maybe that is something that could work for you. But again, it just really depends on your own personal, unique setup. But what I want to say is that the holiday period doesn't last forever. Maybe if you really feel like you want to keep engaged and stimulated, you can take up a new hobby. Come and join me in my healing portal daily devotion. You can try somatic shaking. You can try breath work. You can do EFT tapping. You can basically get ready for 2025 before it is already there. Or maybe you could say, hey, I'm going to do the 7-day Confidence Queen Challenge. We ran it live. Now it is there available for you to go and do in the portal on your own. There's a workshop every single day. You get an email PDF and you get somatic exercises. So why don't you maybe do that? Why don't you write letters to the people that you love or text messages or make videos to the people that have been most helpful to you, most loving to you in the year ahead, and focus on the positives. Share with them how they have made you feel and how grateful they are for you. And the final thing I would say is you can complete my yearly reflection PDF. I put together the most epic reflection plan, and that is in the portal as well. So if you want to do a big yearly reflection and see how far you've come and celebrate yourself and then prep for next year, you can do that too. So I know that sometimes we really can feel lonely at Christmas, and I'm there, like not having many friends back home, potentially having no friends in Mexico that are here for Christmas. I could even be spending the day on my own for all I know. So that would suck, but I also know that that's okay. And some days suck, and Christmas is really just a man-made day. It's no different to any other day, and it will pass, and a new year will come, and you will get another chance to do it all again next year. So I hope that that has helped you or inspired you if you guys are feeling like you are also going to head home this Christmas and you don't want to be a cocaine mammy. You don't want to be in the bars. There are other options, I promise you, and you can bring that connection to your nervous system when it feels inherently lonely. You are loved, you are worthy. Remember that. I am here for you. So is the community, and I can't wait to hear how you got on. Now, on to our second hotline question. The second part of today's episode, talking about those damn family dynamics, those damn family triggers. Been there every single year for my entire life. Let's get into it.
Hey Louise, I've just joined your daily devotional and I just want to say thank you so much for the awesome work that you're putting out there. I grew up in a family home where I ended up being a therapist at a very, very young age for my parents and my family. My dad was very, very strict and moody and inconsistent. My mum, being the total matriarch, she was very, very strong, but she was very detached. So there was never any kind of processing of feelings. I ended up being a people pleaser. I ended up being the therapist in the family and eventually grew up with an eating disorder. I am on the other side of that now and have been for a few years, luckily. I live overseas, I live on my own. On my own, I'm very, very good at doing the work, self-regulating, doing what I need to do to keep my nervous system in check. But just, I would love your feedback on how you kind of felt in the early stages of your healing journey, putting yourself into a place where you are fully triggered. I will be staying at our family home. There is no kind of two ways about that. I'll only be there for about 10 days to 2 weeks. But I recognize that it's a place where I am really triggered and I will go straight back into that, generally do go straight back into that kind of therapist mode and look after everybody else and put my own self on the back burner. I would just really love some advice on how you navigated that early on in your journey. Thank you.
Thank you so much to this lovely lady submitting this question. And like I said, I relate to this one. So I think that the first thing she said is, how did I deal with this at the first part of my healing journey? And what I will say is family are going to trigger you for the rest of your goddamn life. Nothing will trigger you like your family. Nothing will trigger you like your parents. They are the closest people to us. They know us the most. They know what triggers us the most. And they trigger us the most because they have shaped us into the individuals that we are today. And the levels of love that we can feel for our parents whilst also having resentment and frustration is remarkable, if I may say so myself. So what I will say is that I do think it is something that gets easier. I do think that, well, I'm really glad that you've signed up to the portal as well. What I will say is that it does get easier. It's amazing to hear that you've become a daily devotion subscriber, because what I would say is that the more you learn to regulate your nervous system, the more you learn to just be able to tolerate stress, be more resilient to stress, to move through triggers rather than breaking down or exploding in the ways that some of us might, or getting super and highly emotional like some of us might. So it's really good that you are doing the somatic practices. And that's going to be a huge, huge, huge piece of advice for your trip home, because it is about consistency, right? Somatics works through consistency. And I will tell you the difference between me doing 2 weeks, no somatics, and 2 weeks with some somatic healing, some breath work, some shaking is remarkable. So the first thing I'm going to say is, it's about owning your morning every single morning. So yes, you go home. Yes, you have less time for you. Yes, you have less space. But I find that that morning period, like between the time you wake up and maybe like you go and shower, you're in your bedroom on your own, yes, there might be people downstairs that are like, breakfast is coming, etc., etc. You got to be down here. Like, I always feel like a kid when people are like, breakfast is on the table, like hurry up. And I'm like shaking around my bedroom, like, but what I would say is it's about carving out a period for you to begin with every single day in the morning. Even if it's 5 minutes, can you do 5 minutes of regulating breath work? Can you do 5 minutes of somatic shaking? Can you release the stressed cortisol, adrenaline energy, the kind of jittery energy that we experience when we go home, that leads to us feeling triggered, that leads to us wanting to slip back into old ways and old patterns? So that is where I would start. I would say that time in the morning, even if it's just 5 minutes every day, is so, so important. But what I would also say is important is dose. So you can limit the time that you spend with your family. You said you're going home for 10 days to 2 weeks. Why don't you make that 10 days? Why don't you make that 7 days? Because what I find is that when I am at home for a smaller period of time, I find it easier to hold my tongue. I don't want to ruin the moments. I really want to be present. I really want to enjoy the experience, rather than when I'm there for longer, it just kind of feels like things are harder over the longer course. So it's okay to leave when things get stressful or to reduce the time frame. And like I said to the other lovely lady in the beginning of the episode, it's also about spending smaller doses with your family. Is there things you can do, like go for a daily walk, go to a daily Pilates class? Can you walk the family dog? Can you go and do some exercise? Can you spend some time with a sibling or just one of your parents? Are there friends nearby that you can connect with? Can you go and walk in nature? What I find is that when I split up my family time, it just means that the time that we do spend together is just like way better and always seems to be full of more positive interactions, rather than, it's like the end of like a 2-week holiday together. Like everyone's tired, everyone's snappy, everyone feels a bit shit about themselves. So compartmentalize, prioritize you is where I would start in this equation. The next thing is about this dynamic with your parents. Now, this can relate to literally anyone that is listening, because we cannot change our parents until they are ready to change. It is as simple as that. It doesn't matter what the pattern is. You say that your dad is super strict and that your mum is very matriarchal and quite unemotional. For other people, it might be that their parents drink or they complain. It might be that they're aggressive. We all have different dynamics that we are living with. But what I will say is we cannot change our parents until they are ready. And one of the hardest things in this life is acknowledging that often with our parents and the generation above us is they don't want to change. They are not ready to change. They are not interested in changing. They come from a generation that is so deeply entrenched with what they've gone through, with what they've lived through, with the ancestral trauma that they are holding, that they kind of don't even realize that change is possible. They think emotions are weak. Some people have like lived through wars, or their parents lived through wars. I know that some of the stories in my family are really intense, and my frustration with individuals not wanting to change has been something I've really had to work through, and to acknowledge that I can't change my parents. I can't change the dynamic of their marriage. I can't change the dynamic of their relationship. I can't change the relationship with my brother and my mother, or whatever combination you want to put. But what I can change is my reaction to the situation. Now, reactions start inside of us, right? If you feel triggered, that is an amygdala hijack. That is an amygdala response. It's the fear activating our body, activating our brain, telling us that we need to fight, flight, or freeze. Now, by doing those calming practices in the morning, we will start to come back to baseline and be less likely to be triggered. But you are going to be triggered. That is just life, okay? What I want you to do is have an exit strategy. So I used to be very good at just like staying in the drama until like I had gritted my way through it. Like I would shout more and more and it would escalate. But now I've realized that I can step outside the room. I've realized I can step out into the garden. So I would ask you, what can your exit strategy be? Even if it is just simple as saying, this makes me feel uncomfortable, I'm going to leave the room. I want you to get clear on your exit strategies and what your exit triggers are going to be. So I have one trigger now, which is that if my parents fight in front of me, I don't want to be a part of it. It is so triggering for my nervous system. And it triggers me into wanting to be the therapist to fix their relationship, to fix the dynamic. So if they start doing that, I now say, please stop doing that. It makes me feel uncomfortable. Or I might say something like, you're doing it again, and I've told you it makes me feel uncomfortable. And if they won't listen, because sometimes our parents act like our children, I will leave the room. So I do understand that this is easier said than done, but I think that for me, the biggest shift for you, I didn't know if you were actually qualified as a therapist. I think you are. So it must be even more frustrating for you because you want to work through these things with people. You want to help them see what's going on, and that if dad could just be a bit more like this, or if mum could just be a bit more emotional, then it might make you feel X, Y, Z, and they might feel this way and blah, blah, blah. But I want you to set and honor that boundary before you go home, that you are not going to do that. And every time that you feel that you want to do that, I would implement the exit strategy. I would actively try and break those neural pathways. You can either snap an elastic band on your wrist, which is like, nope, we're not doing that. You can imagine taking on an alter ego, whatever your alter ego is of the opposite of being a therapist, imagine that it's like Shania, and Shania just doesn't give a fuck, okay? When your parents start fighting and you snap that wristband, I want you to imagine for 2 seconds that you're Shania. What would Shania do? Shania would just get up and leave. Shania would pick up her phone. Sometimes this alter ego work can be an interesting way for us to kind of disconnect from the experience of being us in these situations. Now, it's kind of niche. It doesn't work for everyone. And some people will say, this is emotional bypassing, blah, blah, blah. But I'm going to say I have lived through this my whole life, like being my parents' therapist. And what I will say is that sometimes you have to take measures that feel a little bit weird because the dynamic's not going to change. They are probably not going to change. And so that means you have to change and you have to try different tips and techniques to see what works for you. So what I would say is focusing on protecting you rather than trying to fix them. And inside the Daily Devotion portal, we have an inner child healing meditation that I think would be really good for you to do, because the truth is that the little you that grew up in this family unit, she really needed things that she was not getting from mum or dad. And so you going back into the family unit, you are still not going to be getting those things from mum or dad. And that's very triggering. That's very sad. It can elicit a lot of different feelings in our body. Sadness, anger, how couldn't you? Why didn't you do this? So that would be a really good practice to do, to see how you can give your inner child these things in a really healing way this holiday season. And focus on protecting yourself rather than trying to fix your parents. Now, my next piece of advice is not going to work for everyone. It really depends on the type of relationship that you have with your parents. If someone is listening and it might be that the whole family drinks, but this Christmas you don't want to drink, it's about setting boundaries before going home or imminently, like in the day that you arrive home. So you might say to your parents, I appreciate everything you do for me. I'm in therapy right now. I'm realizing that a big part of something that I need to work on is being the therapist in situations that I don't need to be the therapist in. I'm really going to be working on that this holiday season. I would appreciate if you could try and help me by doing X, Y, and Z, or by respecting me if I need to leave the conversation or if I need to leave the room. Now, hopefully at the bare minimum, they will respect your experience. I know that some people will be in families where they will be mocked for trying to set boundaries. They will be ridiculed. And that, again, is very, very painful. But remember, you are setting the boundaries for you, not for them. It doesn't really matter about their response to the boundary. I mean, ideally, they will respect the boundary. But for some of us, the holiday season is just going to be an exercise in setting boundaries to protect ourselves. And whether you do that before going home or whether you do that in person, that can be a really important thing here. I say to my parents, I am a better person when I go to the gym. I'm happier. I have no pain. I feel so much better in my body. My mental health is so much better. I would really appreciate if you guys could support me on that. If I say that I want to go to the gym one day, I'm not trying to be difficult and, maybe it'll clash with a breakfast that we have organized. But is there any way that we could just do the breakfast 1 hour later so I can do this that makes me feel great? And for the most part, my parents are so receptive to that. My dad was so helpful. The last time I was home, he put me on the insurance on the car, on his Porsche, no less. That was fun. Never driven a car like that before in my life. And that meant I could drive to the gym and it was great. I felt amazing. I was able to escape from my family unit. And when I was able to come back, I just appreciated it so much more. So yeah, that would be my top advice. The dose is important. A small dose of family time is okay. You're allowed to have an exit strategy, and walking away when triggered is good. We can't change our parents until they are going to be ready. That daily routine is crucial. That morning routine is crucial. That keeping busy is crucial. And putting you first, protecting you, listening to little you, and understanding that it is not your job to fix your parents. That is deep attachment wounding from the pain that you have experienced through being a part of the family, through being a part of their relationship. I am not shaming you for that. I am exactly the same. It hurts. I have always felt like if they could just understand this and just do that, then everything will be okay. But therapy has taught me I can't change that family dynamic. I can't change how people feel. I can't change how they talk to each other or treat each other, but I can change how I react. So, my honeys, that is the end of today's episode. I want you to remember that this holiday season is about you, and it's about respecting yourself and loving yourself and caring for yourself through it. It is so easy to let everything go. And you know what? If you end up losing it a little bit, that's okay. Like, we are humans, and there is something kind of nice about just lying on a sofa, eating 3 slices of cake when we should only have one, and just relaxing. But at the same time, I want you to try and keep some routine, some structure. And I want you to know you are not alone. My community is here for you. There are hundreds of healing honeys inside Daily Devotion, my healing portal. We have a community room. It's called The House. We have live sessions. If you are not a part of a community, if you feel lonely, come and join us. I am sure we will be doing a live session over the Christmas period. But most of all, just know whatever it is that you are going through this holiday season, it's a season. It is going to pass, much like everything else is. And I believe in what the other side of the holiday season has for you. I believe in next year. I'm excited for next year. I'm excited for what lies ahead for you. I'm excited for you to keep stepping closer to your potential, to your truth, to your love, to your self-connection. And sometimes the holiday season does slow down that journey a bit, but that is okay, because winter is a time for rest and rejuvenation. It's a time for slowing down. It's a time for introversion. It's a time for reflection. And it's a time for goal setting for next year as well. So I hope that you have found this helpful. I love you guys so much. Happy holidays. I can't wait to hear how it goes for you. I will keep you updated whether I'm spending Christmas Day on my own or whether I fly back to the UK or whether I find a friend. Who knows? But most of all, I love you guys so much. So proud of you for navigating every season in life. You are truly, truly wonderful, all of you. And by listening to this podcast, you are putting yourself first. So please like and subscribe at the pod. Make sure you follow or subscribe to be notified every time a new episode goes live. Share this with someone who needs it. And if you share it on social media, tag me, because I want to share it to the audience of Healing Honeys. Most of all, I love you guys so much, and I will see you very, very soon. Happy holidays.